And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is the Sunday conversation. I know you guys are probably surprised to see just me sitting here, but Danielle couldn't do the show today. Her dad is really not doing well. He's like hour to hour. So thoughts and prayers for him, for Daniela for sure. Give you guys a little bit of time to come in. I think Daniela had this made already. And then when she thought she wasn't doing the show, she took it down. She didn't know that I'd do one. So I didn't have a guest. I didn't even have time to contact Iron Dogger. So what I'm going to do is post the link in the chat for anybody that wants to join me. And we'll have a conversation outside of that. We'll answer a few questions. We'll go over a little bit of what we got coming up. You can see I'm home now, probably not going back to the oil field for a long time. So this is kind of the beginning. Lynn and I are going to Tennessee Thursday. We'll be back Sunday. And then Tuesday, I'm heading down to Florida to film an investigation with Mark. And then we'll add that to his Odyssey. We were going to go with what we have now, but since we got all the new equipment, we wanted to do that there. So once again, the link is posted in the chat a couple times there for anybody that wants to join me. Texas Jack, Anthony, Fred in Alaska, Miss Lynn. When do y'all come on here? Yeah, we do apologize for this. We're not really having a guest, but we're going to try to create something here. Daniela doesn't get paid if she doesn't have a show. So that's really what we're doing. We appreciate you guys supporting. Thank you, Val. Corey Hunt, I'm doing just fine. I'm home. I do have some stories if that has to be the case. Kind of hoping someone joins me here pretty soon. Again, the link is in the chat a couple times, 3 times now. Hey, Gilbert. I normally don't address you guys. We don't usually have time. We usually have a guest, or at least a guest host, someone for me to talk to besides you guys. While you guys are doing that, let me see what I can come up with. I will just go over what we've got coming up, aside from going down doing the shoot with Mark. Donnie Miller is going to be next, and then Arkansas with Pam and Paul. We've talked to a few others. John Day got the okay from his wife, I think. Don't we all have to do that? Get permission. Gentlemen. What else? That's it. That's all I can think of right now, unfortunately. All right, somebody come on, or somebody ask a question. Let's get started here. Thank you, Redbeard. Yeah, the Late Show Friday. Yeah, that was a good one. I ended up doing a lot of talking, and so it's hard to do with 4. It's hard to do with 1. As you guys can see, I'm dying here, and it's hard to do with more than 3. 2 or 3 is always better, because you're not talking over each other, and you get to hear more out of people. I end up if there's no program and I invite someone, I end up taking it over. So I do a lot of talking. Fred in Alaska. How tall are they in Florida? You know, the tallest that I've seen that we've estimated in pictures, just poking their head out, is 10 feet. A lot of 9-footers. Let me see if I've got a picture of Big Ugly. That's what I'll do. I'm going to email myself a bunch of pictures and we'll kind of look at those. Y'all give me just a second. I've got Big Ugly right here. I know that's not a very nice name, but we've caught him on camera several times. Something you guys are going to see that I've got Mark looking for now in his Odyssey is something they got back in 2015. They were shooting a segment, and Melanie's, you know, filming him with the iPad, and he's standing on the edge of the trees, and 20 feet, 30 feet maybe, back into the palmettos, there's this kind of a clump of palmetto there. This guy stands up, looks at him. You can see his face perfectly clear. You see him stand up, you see him look at him for a second, and then he just puts his, we called him Banana Head for a little while because he has such a serious, I don't know if it's a sagittal crest. It could be just fat up there. For who knows, they may be like a camel and can store water in it. But he has a very tall cone for a head, excuse me. I'm posting the link again. I'm sorry. I think Daniela had this made already, and you guys might have tried to go there or had notifications to go there. Just didn't quite make it. I'll just give me 1 second to find it. It has to be pretty good to go up here. Okay, there it is. I'm just going to go through and grab a couple, and I think you guys are going to be able to see anyway. I don't know if you can hear Jester. He's whining to get out. Look at these two right here. Just have to give them just a second and they'll show up. Excuse me for one moment. We've got Mark's got several new images that is just going to blow you guys away. I know I've got some of them up here now. Let's kind of look at a few that we have here. What is this? Too blurry. Yeah, that was, all you can see really is his nose, but you can kind of see his head back there. I don't know, you guys probably can't see my cursor, but right in the center of the dot is just this little wide nose, and you kind of see his head back there. There's all kind of bushes and sticks in front of him. I always thought this was a good one. You see where the light circle is. I'm not sure if that is one. It sure looks like one. It's just hard to tell on here through this. This was that green guy Richard got. Hard to see, but he's looking to the right. I've also got this image of this guy with his mouth open. If you guys want to see that. This is the one where people kept saying every time I showed it to them, they'd say, "Oh yeah, I see the head and shoulders." No, it's just his head. You can see his very traditional Sasquatch looking dude. Mouth and nose, and he was probably around, I think, about 40 feet, 50 feet away. They were in his den, I think he said. Is that all we have up here? Oh, wait. I like this one. Those trees are about 20 feet apart. I thought they were all together and small, but they're not. They're full-size pine trees on the left there, but they're in a row about 20 feet between them. It's just perspective. And that guy that's poking his face out there, you just see that little hole in the bushes he's watching through. It's probably another 20 feet to that palmetto behind that tree. So it's a really big guy there. But you see that nose, to me, that nose is perfect. And you can see his two eyes and the whites in his eyes. And you can see just the right corner of his mouth just a little bit because all the bushes in front of him. But I always thought that was just a great shot. Let me see if those went through. They did. I'm not as good at this as Daniela, so. And I hope these turn out. Sometimes I have a problem getting them big enough. Yeah, this might end up being small. I'm going to be upset if it is. And it is. Awesome. Yeah, that's as big as I can get it. I'll tell you what, like I did last time, let me see if this one's going to be small. Yeah, it's small too. Sorry about that. There's got to be a way. I'm going to have to format these. But anyway, we gave it a shot. All right. You guys can always hit me up on Messenger and I'll send you whatever picture you want to see there. It's clear there anyway. It's not going to be clear here because it's going through my email, through StreamYard, and then through YouTube. So it's not. Question from Jack. Carrie, do you believe that FFW are trying to stop you in your study area? FWC, Florida Wildlife Conservation, is, I think that's what that stands for. I think they have something they have to know, at least. Anyway, well, I know Mark has talked to a few that were retired and said the numbers are a lot bigger, a lot higher for reports than people will ever know because none of it ever gets past them. You know, people come and show them pictures of tracks and ask them, you know, hey, what is this? Or they'll come and report seeing something they couldn't explain. It never goes any further. So, and someone ends up with a Bigfoot story and hopefully ends up here or somewhere else, at least telling their story somewhere. Is there anyone care to join me? The link is in the chat once again. Corey Hunt wants to know, how many do you think are in the area you and Mark were in at night? I don't know. I can tell you this. The night that Mark and Scott went back in 2019, and Mark had his thermal that wouldn't record, but the one that Scotty had did record. Y'all hold on one second. Sorry about that. Mark was going down. They had gone like the night we had the live, that little canal levee levee that we were walking down whenever my truck went off. They had just gone a little bit further than that, and Mark spotted a heat signature. So he stopped and he's standing there watching it, and he's way ahead. He's bad about hurrying on down and getting in front of you. So he zooms in on it, and he sees the apex and the shoulder, and he said it's like it's sitting up on its elbows. And he said it raised up on its arm. And when he did, he said 4 more heads popped up behind it. And then he's yelling at Scotty to hurry up and get up there. And he said they got up and started to move. And then there was one more closer. So there was 5 there. And he said one thing there that was just humongous. It was just a solid heat signature along with the others. And they were, far enough down where it looked like the direction they were going to cut them off. So Scott got there, and he actually caught just the tail end of one very clear. He had it on black hot, so you don't see detail, but you see the outline, and you see it. You can see its hair and everything ducked down behind the bushes, probably around 20 feet away. And then the others were behind him. So Mark's telling then we got to go, because it looked like the way they were going, they were going to cut them off from the vehicle. So they ran back, and I think that's when Mark tells it a lot better, because obviously he was there. But he threw up when he got back to the car, and he doesn't like to go out there at night, and I don't blame him. But to me, if I'm going down there to have an interaction and try to get it recorded. And now that we have the equipment to actually do that, the parabolic dish and the thermal scope that we got, we're going to be armed at least with that stuff. So hopefully you'll be able to hear what we're hearing and see what we're seeing. But we also got the newest iPad. It's a 1 terabyte. It's their biggest upgrade. It's like 13-inch screen. You can Bluetooth that to the scope. So what we're going to do, if we can't get the scope to go live, then, because it does have Wi-Fi, but what we'll do is we'll Bluetooth it to the iPad, and I'll just record the iPad with my phone so you guys can see what the thermal is seeing. We're trying. We're doing our best to bring you guys along with us. For all of those. So anytime we do an investigation anywhere, there will be a live on the nighttime. Probably not for the daytime one, but definitely for the nighttime. And so I think vomiting is common when researching big hairy boogers. Yeah, you did too, didn't you? Forgot about that. Barry Browning, are you here? Get the link. I'm going to paste it in there again. Anybody who wants to join me. Again, I'm doing this for Daniela. This may not be the best show ever. But for those of you who just came in, Daniela couldn't make it because of her dad. Her dad's in really bad shape. Her words were, he's hour to hour. So prayers for Daniela and her dad. Country Racing says, I've gotten most of my experiences during nighttime and using red headlamps. Won't you come on here and talk about it with me? Country Racing, the link is right there in the chat. All you got to do is click it. If you're on an iPhone, you may have to copy it and paste it in your Safari and just hit go, put your name in. You'll show up backstage and I'll bring you on. But for Android, you just click the link and it automatically shows up in your browser. And then you just hit go. Big Dog says, Carrie, hopefully you can do this full time now. Hope so. Yeah, that's the plan. Big Dog is to go full time. Bigfoot research, and we're also going to still do what we started out doing which is traveling and telling people's story. Which I figured would always be, our niche, because I had no desire to go look for the things. But I think adding an investigation on top of telling the story, we're going to have the time to actually do that. And if we do 2 a month, which is ambitious, 1 every 3 weeks is probably going to be more the pace. Hilton says, Carrie, have you changed your thoughts on people that find that what they're looking for then want to leave? Yeah, I mean, yeah, a little bit I have. But I'm a little different too. I'm really not a good barometer for Bigfoot research sometimes, because I'm so tense, when I'm out there and apprehensive about going in these dark places at night. Though I did it for almost 30 years, growing up all through my teens, 20s, early 30s. It was it was nothing to go crawling through the woods at night. Just have to check yourself for ticks really good. But now I think if you have the mindset, then you're okay. You can do it. But I think there are people that are naive about these creatures, and a lot of them, I think, maybe are just don't really know. They don't have a belief or disbelief. They're just open to the possibility, and then get out there and actually start to experience something. I think those are more likely the people that leave. I think if you're right, I think if your mind is set and is made up to go in and look for them, these guys like that are going on the trip, Chris Reinhardt and Robert Kreider and Ron Kasner, those guys, I don't think they'll want to leave when things start to happen, unless it gets too aggressive. I mean, you got to be smart regardless. I just worry about those guys' safety going up there doing that. But they're grown men. They know exactly what they're doing, and this is what we need. We need more people doing this, doing the, not just go camping on the weekends, looking for them, but putting together expeditions. We just don't have very many. Sawdust Beast, Mark and Larry, they do it. And now Robert Kreider's got this. Chris Connor is going to be going too. I forgot who else, but I can't wait to see what they get. I think it's going to be hopefully a fruitful venture for them. I mean, Robert, I think, has known that place for a long time and hasn't been up there in a while. So it's we're going to see, but I don't think they've left. I think they're still there. But we got to get something better. The same old stuff's been passed around for so long, and there's just no one's getting anything. So that's what we are going to try to do. There's Lynn. Hey, Lynn.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We had some feedback, but I think you fixed it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't mute that. I couldn't find my headphones. So anyway, I'm here, low checking it, but I'm here.
Hey, yeah, no, I appreciate you joining me. What? Don't you have a place down there somewhere in Florida?
I have a fish camp, a little tiny area across from a wildlife management spot. I haven't been up there in a while. Very rustic, but you guys are welcome to use it anytime. And
can we access the management area from there?
Yeah, you walk across the creek and go right into it.
Legally?
Probably not, but if you pull
then we're not doing it.
Yeah, but you can stage there, and then go to the actual entrance area, or we could like pull day use permits online, and then I don't think it matters where you enter from as long as they know you're there.
I think you have a snoring dog or something there.
Oh, that's a French bulldog. Sorry. Hey. Yeah, he's pretty good at that. I actually have two bulldogs now. I have an English bulldog and a French bulldog. So the English bulldog I got as a rescue. I was working briefly for a veterinarian, and her husband had rescued the dog and to surgeries and whatnot, but she wasn't working out with them. So now I have an extra bulldog. So I have twice the snoring and snorting going on in the background. So sorry about that. Yeah. But I have been actually poking around in Big Cypress National Preserve. I actually started paying attention. I follow this group called Florida Herpers, which is a snake group. People, reptile hunters during the dry season. Now the water is real low, so they go out onto the dirt roads down in these areas and they hunt for reptiles. If you find, and you can find everything from those little slow moving guys. I forget their names, but chameleons. You can, like, people go out at night and they use little spotlights up in the trees and they gather chameleons, which are a invasive species, and also everything up to like giant snakes and stuff. But anyway, I've been paying attention to this group and I kept seeing reports of people being screamed at if they urinated around the car, or just very squatchy things going on around there. And from what I can understand, there have been ongoing reports of a juvenile in that area for about 2 years. And so I went down a couple of times. Specifically, one day I went down, I found what I believe to be a track that was next to a grader on the roadside. And then I had a broken toe at the time, so I waited a few more days so I could put my foot in a snake boot. And I went back down there, and I started going in. Well, a gentleman found some interesting tracks down there, so that got my curiosity up again. So I went down and I started poking around, and found found a couple of soft. At first, I thought they were river turtles, cooters, common cooters, but I've been informed that they are dried out soft shell turtles, but they've been like pulled apart at the. They're not. There's no cut marks on them. There's no tooth marks on them.
Uh-oh. We lost Lynn. I did. Hopefully she'll be back. I did get a few questions. Forrest says, when on a Sasquatch hunt, please do not forget to look up in the trees as well. You know, that happens, doesn't it? You get to going through the woods and you just don't think to look up. I'm sure it happens all the time. What do you do? Look up in the trees. Good advice, I'd say. Ignacio Gianelli. Hope I got that right. Carrie, have you ever heard of Bigfoot researchers gone missing? Not any famous ones. Ignacio, I haven't. Or is it Nacho? They call it. A friend of mine at work. That's what we call him. So yeah, not any famous ones anyway. I think, but again, most of the famous researchers have done their research and then got famous and wrote books about it and got it famous that way. I don't know how many of them still go out. The bigger guys out there. Hilton Littlewood has one. Says, Carrie, are you going to change your times? Make more of an even. All right. Always trying to stir something up. Yeah, probably not, Hilton. We'll leave the field alone. Lynn, you back?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So anyway, these two turtles, I found them together. No tracks around them whatsoever, but they were pulled apart, and it takes a lot of strength to pull apart turtles. But I'll send you the pictures of it. It was really an interesting find, I thought, because I just couldn't. I because I was a cadaver dog handler, I'm a little bit familiar with knife marks and certain things. So, but there was no indication of knife marks or tooth marks at all on these turtles. They were
Well,
just,
soft shell turtle is darn good eating.
yeah,
That's what we used to eat growing up around here. And then they became, I guess they made them endangered, so you couldn't mess with them anymore. But their shell is not that soft. You
no,
couldn't just rip it open. Not a person.
no,
I wouldn't think. No. We had to really, you get an axe and you chop into, after you kill it, obviously you kind of chop the sides off and then just skin it out
oh
that way.
yeah, there was, hang on, let me send these things to you. There was no indication of any chopping into this turtle at all. It looked like they had just been ripped down the side.
You guys keep asking your questions, and I'm starring them. We will get to them. Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, hang on, I'm working on finding this picture. I've been yesterday, my throat's a little sore. I spent yesterday again down on the Tamiami Trail, but I took a airboat ride. So my throat's a little sore, my ears are a little clogged up, but anyway, that's why I sound like this. Oh, here they are.
Hilton wants to know when my book is coming out that I'm already famous. I did get recognized, and it was the coolest thing ever to get recognized in Fort Stockton, Texas. About 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, I guess to a degree, maybe so. But we've got millions of views on our Odysseys, so it's not that hard to see why a few people out there might know who we are. The book, I thought about writing a book, actually, but I don't have enough for it. I think I'm gonna get the research going, and if we find and get really, really good footage of one, like most of the body up, face clear, walking away or running or getting away or whatever coming at us, then I'll probably start cranking out on the book. that's gonna be a good point to end on, in this line, along in this subject, is to start from my experience and go all the way to actually catching one on camera good. So if it happens, we're gonna have to get very lucky to get anything at all. But we're not gonna get it on the couch. I'm not gonna get it with the crappy equipment we've been going with. So we've stepped up the game, and we have to be out there. So we're gonna be out there with good equipment. The rest is gonna be up to luck.
Hey, I just sent 3 pictures to your phone.
To my text.
Yes.
It'd be better if you emailed them. Can you email them to me?
Yep, no problem.
Hey, Jack, thanks for joining us.
Evening, Terry. Evening.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good this afternoon. Am I getting feedback there?
No, we can hear you fine. Go ahead. I've got some questions. I got some questions started. We're going to get to here in just a minute.
The one thing I wanted to say, Terry, was one of the reasons.
Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead, Jack.
One of the reasons that I talk so much about hitting the button is that people don't seem to understand
I think we lost you. Don't seem to understand what.
Well, I'm getting feedback, Terry.
Oh, okay. It's on you. Your internet might be a little bit slow, Jack,
Okay.
because you're froze up on the. Try turning your camera off. Look down there at the bottom. It says stop cam. That takes up a lot of your bandwidth right there. All right. I'm not reading these. I'm just going through and starring everything that's in caps.
Okay, how's that?
I can hear you. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a delay though.
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5 second delay.
Yeah. One thing that you never push.
Go ahead, Jack.
Is that what the importance of people hitting the like button and how it helps the channel.
You're right. You guys it does help tremendously. What it does is, the more people that hit like in a certain amount of time, and then gets, views in a certain amount of time, the more YouTube promotes you and pushes you out there. So time doesn't have anything to do with it. Commenting also is another one that helps. What helps, the biggest help is sharing. When you share someone's video, it doesn't matter who it is. If they have a video on, because they've changed the algorithms up for YouTube. So the more you share someone's stuff, the bit more that's going to get put out there. So we appreciate all of you that just hit the thumbs up. All right, I got about 7 questions here. Uh-oh, Lynn's here twice. Kathleen Roscos. That's right, Roscos. Why do you think you don't hear about as many Sasquatch in Wisconsin? I think it's probably the same reason you don't hear as many in Mississippi, is because no, it's nothing to tell. People see them. There's just, you tell the neighbor maybe, hey, I saw one of those boogers. Lynn, are you here? But, it's not that the sightings are not happening. It's just they're not being reported. And if they're not being reported, then we're not going to know, right? So I think it's happening. There's not anything to report. It's just such a commonly known thing that these creatures are either out there or could be out there, that when someone does have an experience, they don't even bother calling anyone. I think that's the way people are in Mississippi. It's you can look at a sightings map, and there's a hole right over South Mississippi where right there, my sighting was almost right in the center of it, where there's been nothing reported, but that doesn't mean they haven't been seen and experienced for years. So that's kind of what I think with a lot of places like Wisconsin, Maine, just people just don't say anything. Gibb 67, I believe the Patterson film to be a real creature. Me too. I do. If it's not, they made a heck of a suit. Still, it's we need to be able to show people that that it is real by getting better. At least as good as that, but clearer. And it's going to take equipment to do that. And if whoever we're working against, FWC or whoever, they can't keep them hidden forever. These things are out. They're at least poking their face out there. And if we can get to where we can see them in real time while we're there, then we can kind of make moves and to at least to get them to move. Because catching a clear face in the bushes is one thing, but getting them to move, that's something else. Got a few emails. I think someone just sent me something. It's like, Carl Gotro, Long time no see. Some prints. I don't know if we'll be able to. Thank you, Carl. Lynn's turtle pick. I'm not. That's pretty gnarly, Lynn. I don't know if I want to show everybody that. It's just a torn apart soft shell turtle. So, hey, Carrie, do you ever think the government will ever admit that Sabe do exist? They have no reason to. The government is not in the business of quantifying or guaranteeing your discovery, backing it in any way whatsoever, no matter how much they know. They could care less. Once it comes out, they're not going to admit it. Well, admitting something like that could leave them open to liability, especially where national parks are concerned. If there's ever any evidence, like the Dennis Martin story, what was witnessed with that, there could be a lot of litigation involved. So yeah, they'll never admit it. They'll say, "Oh wow, we didn't know," just like the UFOs, we didn't know anything. Right. Whatever you say. News to us. Unfortunately. Miss Debbie, Carrie, would you ever move to Florida where Mark is? Yeah, we're actually thinking about that. Getting out of here and selling the house, moving down there where the research can happen without me having to drive 10 hours. But 10 hours is just a drive for me. All right. Ask Lynn about her attack owls. Lynn, when she gets back, I will. If she happens to make it back. Corey Hunt says, you'll have to make sure your book doesn't come out while someone else's book is coming out. You guys are just, y'all are just nothing. I'm kidding. Do you think that Mark Barton is right when he basically says these beings are evil? That's not what Mark says. He does not say the Sasquatch are evil. He says the masters, what he calls the masters, are evil. He says his claim is that the Sasquatch are just what they are, but they're more of a ruse. They're more of a lure, I guess, is the way he saw it, that he was lured into looking for these creatures by these masters. And now, because they've had this influence over him, they're viewing him and taking him out as a trophy, kind of like hunting. But he says they're not evil. He says they're not good or evil. It's just a thing they do. So, and I think because we haven't heard very much about something like that with anybody else. Mark is pretty much the only person we've heard that from in this genre. Something like that can show up somewhere else more, in the paranormal side. Maybe it has something similar. I don't know. But we don't hear a lot of that. So it's what leads me to think that what happened with Mark was highly personal. And more, it's just, it's too hard for me to say. I believe he experienced something. I don't think anybody can watch at least that interview or talk to him around that time. He had Bill and Sheila Tucker convinced not to go looking for him again. Squatch team. Sheila was like, "Nah, I'm done." Just from the experiences she had, and then hearing him talk about that, that these masters are behind everything. These master spirits, these dark, shadowy beings, entities. I don't know. I've seen dark stuff in this house many times. Linda sees it all the time. The dog, he gets to see it every now and then. So I think there's probably some forces out there that maybe they're not necessarily malevolent, but just don't have anything for us. Nothing for us, nothing against us. It doesn't bother them when we do go through bad things, you know. No sympathy or empathy, I guess is how I would say that. I'll really appreciate 323 of you guys showing up already for no program. Big Dog, do you guys think Dogman and werewolves are different entities? You know, I don't know anything about either one of them. Big Dog, that's more up. I think Thinker Thunker has a video out about that. I saw the title of it. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. But maybe you guys check out Thinker Thunker and his video on that. And maybe there's an answer in there for you. This is one I had starred. Hey, Carrie, can't wait for you guys to get out there with your equipment. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, I think it is. We're hoping, you know, we're at least going to be, if nothing happens at all, we're going to be prepared. And plus going all over, not just down to Florida in that area, but, you know, there's a couple places in Louisiana we're going to be going to, and, you know, up to Arkansas. So, and the way Mark looks for them with the topo map, when he gets a look at the area, he gets pretty good guesses at where they probably are hanging out near water, low northeast side of a ridge line, or a low area is where they seem to be. Nathan Rio kind of confirmed that back in the day, and it's kind of the same thing. So Mark takes a look at that, and then there's several criteria Mark has for actually finding them. But we're gonna go look. We're gonna shake both sides of the tree here. I'm gonna see about getting with Jen Cruz to do some remote view and see how that works out for us. If we have to pay her to do it, but you know, it's worth a shot. Why not? Let's give it a try. We're going anyway. So we show up for Daniela. Prayers for her family. Thank you, Miss Kathy. Yes, everyone, if you're just coming in late, Daniela's dad is not well. Her words to me were he's hour to hour. So she wasn't going to do a show at all. But if she doesn't do a show, she misses the revenue for that show, because Daniela gets all the revenue for the live show that she does. So we're doing it for her. So if you guys hate watching commercials, just watch these. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 in it. Norma Gunn, why are they green? You know what? I don't have a good answer for that. I only have what we think. Here's a green faced guy right here. He's leaning out sideways. It's a really, really up close. This was in the 168 film. It looks a lot better. You guys have seen this one. Green looking face. That was a really clear shot. 4K taken with the drone. And people say, oh, it looks like a wolf or a dog. And I'm like, no, you're seeing the wrong thing. That the head is from the top, from the chin is close to the bottom of the circle. Top of the head's close to the top. That white thing coming down is pointing right at its right nostril. And then the left nostril on the other side, that'd be its nose. And then you can see its eyeball. You can see the white in the eyeball there. And those large lips that are not, they just look different from one another, you know. This guy sat up, looked at the drone. The drone is probably around 12 feet off the ground here. And I'd say that's a 30-yard shot. Maybe a little further than that. But I mean, that's a 9-footer probably, or better. Why is their face green? What are the choices, really? That it's chromatophores, like a lizard or a squid, where they can just change color when they get next to something. You know, that would be, I guess, not outside the realm of possibility, but more of a reptilian fish adaptation. It's something they're putting on themselves, which I think they have every cognitive capacity to think that way, that if their predisposition is to hide, that they would cover themselves somehow, maybe even put leaves and sticks and make themselves look like a bush, you know. And we get that all the time. Well, that just looks like the bush. Well, yeah, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to look like the bush. So it's understandable, but he's not perfect at it. You know, that's why the green is usually off just a little bit from what's around. We call it lima bean green. The other explanation is that it's diffusion, that not that light is reflecting off of anything. That is happening, but what's happening is it's carrying that color with it. And anything gray picks up achromatic colors like black, white, and everything in between pick up and reflect colors better. Gray does it very well. You put a clear coat on a paint swatch from Sherwin-Williams that's gray and hold it up against something else and it'll reflect that color. So, but to me, it's too even for that all the time. That maybe that's not the case. That maybe it is something they're putting on their skin in order to hide. It would make perfect sense to me. But I think maybe there is some diffusion going on in some of these cases. Especially this one right here. The sun was really bright. And you can see his cone. I just outlined the whole body. You can see his head there, long upper lip. Face is the same exact color. Almost. It's a little bit darker in there. Then, but you see the apex head. You can see his shoulder. His body is sitting back there. And he's back in there. He's 30, 40 feet away. It's just zoomed up close. But his face is green. Don't know why. It could be any one of those things, I think. Anybody else have another idea of what it could possibly be? Jackie Sands, we're supposed to be speaking. Last I heard from Nikki. So I haven't. Oh, Carl. The link's in the chat, Carl, if you want to join me. Thank you, Lindsay Bay. I just made a new moderator. And I can't remember who it is. That we have 10 now. We have 10 moderators. And Lindsay Bay, Miss Diane, and Gesundheit. Can't think of her name right now. Cashew Gesundheit. They're all our lead moderators here. So, and they do a fantastic job. Yes, thank you, Danny. Danny tried to call me today and hung up on me. Said it was an accident. That's your favorite one, the green one? Oh, Lynn made it back. Oh, hear the dog. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to show that turtle being torn apart. Just
hey, can y'all hear me on my phone?
Yeah, we hear you. Can you hear me? Apparently not.
Hang on.
I'm hanging.
No. Okay, I'm still having technical difficulties. Sorry, guys.
Karen, do you know of any mammal that can change their color Yeah, couple. Bobcats can turn white in the snow. There are several animals that can turn white in the snow, and then their coats are darker in the wintertime. Sean Windling, welcome.
How you doing, Kerry?
But that's the only ones. It's actually two different coats. I think the undercoat is probably dark, and maybe the overcoat is lighter, David, and they shed it for summertime. All right, Tro's joined us. That's the only ones other than Sasquatch, from what we hear, that their hair absorbs, doesn't really reflect light all that well. What we've looked at under the microscope, and I'll show you that here, is gummit. What is wrong? I'm trying to show pictures here. I'm sorry, y'all. Nothing's happening. I can stop my camera. Oh, well. StreamYard's going nuts. So it's not even letting me take David's comment down. That's David Wilbanks, by the way. If you guys haven't checked out his new book. Now that's not coming down. This is strange. I was going to show the hair and show the clear hair in there, and the only other animal I know of that does have.
I see it. I see the hair.
You see it?
Oh yeah, you got it on there.
Well, I'm not seeing it.
Something.
Is it down?
Yes, sir. Now it's down.
All right. You guys stay right there. Don't leave. I'm coming right back.
All right. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm just hanging in there, watching a little NASCAR.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, Talladega.
Starting to get hot.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess I got to be on that side. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Maybe it'll work this time where I can actually see. Find my pictures.
There they are.
I
can see them.
I don't see it.
You got them on there. I see it.
Well, if everybody can see that, then you see the clear hair in there.
Yes, sir.
And then here's, okay, now I can see this one. And there doesn't seem to be a medulla or, the inside little filament, I guess, or whatever it is on the inside of the hair. It doesn't seem to have that. But those are hairs that were found in the area that was burned. And they're about this long. So what else is it?
I can't believe anybody can't quantify that. And you send those to scientists and they still, what is this?
Right.
Undeniable. Unidentifiable.
Carl, you're locked up.
I'm locked up.
Well, on my screen you are. It might be me. It could be my internet all day long.
Kerry, have you seen those monoculars they're advertising on YouTube? Those little things they say from military grade, and they have like 8,000 times, and you can hook them to your cell phone or your iPad or something like that. And I know they're very affordable. I think they're only a few $100s. I just wondered if you guys had looked into doing any of those for getting some of those far away shots, because from what they're advertising, it looks pretty good. But like I said, I have no idea if they're worth their weight in gold or not.
I haven't. What we're looking at is more the 4th generation stuff. On the low end, that stuff's $5,000. High end, you're looking at $150,000. There's a thermal that supposedly can see through bushes, but it's
Wow.
100 grand. So
Yep.
either way, we're just not quite there yet.
You're getting there, though. You're getting there. I think
slowly but slowly.
once you get this new stuff, let's see how things go. Man, I can't wait to see some of the shots you guys get. I know Mark knows what he's doing and everything down there in Florida and everything, so it's going to be fantastic when we see this new equipment coming down.
Kerry, you know
Yeah.
what I think? I think
Go on.
might be and me and you talked about this before. One of the oldest tricks in the book is when you get caught in the swamp, you rub yourself down with mud, but you can also rub yourself down with algae. Algae will keep the mosquitoes off of you too, because it makes like a caked on surface. And once that old swamp and marsh mud dries, it dries great.
Well, I think that's what was going on with the Seminoles. Had the Stone Man,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why they called him that, because he was just caked up with dried mud all over, and that would look like
Right.
stone, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got questions.
Like,
Yep, gray stone. It looks like stone. Yeah, like he wiped himself down, and when it dries, it just looks like looks like stone.
I'm sorry, y'all. I've got some questions here, but for some reason they're not posting, or at least I can't see them. Phil C says, Kerry, you can get a very powerful telephoto lens and get photos that way in Mark's area. Yep, you're late for the party, Phil. We got one. Mark showed it on Friday night's show. It was, could have bought a nice little car for what we paid for it.
Was like you see a pimple on the moon.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a 800 millimeter lens. It's a 300 to 800 Sigma built for a Canon. And we're going to reach out there into those dark places and get them. I actually had to buy the camera, was cheaper than the lens was.
You know, it is too, Kerry. I think, the old saying, seeing is believing. Once you've seen one, you kind of know what to look for. If you've never seen one, so the bone structure is similar, but it's not exact. So if you see that silhouette, you know exactly what you're looking at. I mean, you're not going to say, well, this is just a guy walking through the swamp, trying to trap loggerhead turtles. I mean, you know exactly what you're looking at when you see that profile. I mean, it looks like a damn caveman. I mean, bottom line, I mean, that's what it looks like.
Class A hominoid.
Yeah.
Sean, you ever seen one?
What it is. I have seen one, but not in the lighting to where I could make facial recognition. When I was 14 years old, I had that Class A sighting, and that was my first, and it scared the heck out of me. I mean, I ran and I just pawned it off. Like it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I don't want to give anybody any bad ideas, but when I was 13 and 14 years old, I used to sneak out of my house, and we were kind of in a rural area. And I used to, it would be on the weekend, and I'd have, I'd hook up with a buddy of mine, and we'd go out. It'd be like, okay, girls used to have sleepovers and stuff, and we'd be like, okay, let's sneak out of the house. Let's go over there to Chelsea's house, and she's got 3 or 4. We'd just be ornery boys, just going out and doing things like 3 or 4 in the morning. We'd walk miles and miles and miles and miles. And so coming back about 3 or 4 in the morning, I was cutting through some neighborhood, and it's a very rural neighborhood. Now you got to understand, there's cornfields, there's a river, White River in Indianapolis that was it was on the north side. It was in Carmel, Indiana. And I was coming back from one of these little excursions, and I had walked my buddy home, and so I'm walking home now, and there's this track of woods that was no more than, well, 50 yards in length between the two neighborhoods. Now, if you followed that track of woods, it would funnel down into some cornfields and these farmers' pastures and some other things of that nature. I know it's hard to explain, but so I'm cutting through this stretch of woods between this. And you know how people do when they have, like, they're cutting their grass or they have their lawn clippings and they have this, that, and the other between the neighborhoods and the woods. They take these, these things or sticks and they pile them up in this little tract of woods that's between the two places. So there's a path right there that us kids have cut over time. I was walking through that path, and I just felt unnerved for some reason. And I looked to my left, which looked like a large pile of sticks, rubbish, or grass clippings or whatever. I looked to my left, and it stood up. And I was like, oh my God. As a young kid, I thought, well, is this the neighbor man? Or, as I look back now, I know it wasn't. At 4 a.m. being out there, it stood up. It had to be at least 7.5, 8 feet tall. And as a 14-year-old kid, I was just, it started coming to, and I could see it was there. It was so dark. The moon was out, but I couldn't make out any facial references other than the fact that this is a huge figure and it's coming toward me, and I took off running. Now, it chased me. It freaking chased me, or at least I thought it would chase me. And I used to be able to run like the wind. I was a running back in high school and everything else. I could run a 4.40. I ran and ran. It was on me. It was right behind me. It actually grabbed my shirt and pulled it back. I think it was playing with me. I thought it was the neighbor man. I couldn't. I just could not rationalize what the heck is going on here. And I never told anybody about it. Of course, I snuck out of the house. I couldn't tell my parents about it. I couldn't tell anybody else about it. This thing chased me for about 50 yards, and I could feel the tug on the back of my shirt, and it let me go. And I looked back, and it was gone. It was gone. And I know that was my Class A sighting. Now, Carrie, I know I've talked to you before. I've hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I've had some encounters. I've had 3 or 4 encounters after that. Not Class A, but the scream. That's another thing. I don't want to go off on tangents, but yes, that was my sighting. I couldn't put the face on it, but it was at least about 7.5 feet tall, and it chased me, and I ran. And for a long time, like most people do, I just dismissed it as a young kid. But as everything fell into place later on in life with these other encounters and actual things, it's come commonplace to where I accept it. I had an encounter on the Appalachian Trail where I was just like, had my dog in the tent. I think I told you this, and I was just like, well, it is what it is. I said, hey, he was around my tent. I heard it growl. I heard it walking around. My dog didn't want to have nothing to do with it. He was cowering, and I just said, hey, there's been several instances that, there's no way that I'm not a knower and a believer. So that's my, in a nutshell, without getting into too much detail.
No doubt. StreamYard's gone crazy. What you guys are seeing up here. I hit 10 minutes ago. So sorry. And yes, Chris is our new moderator. Number 10. Thank you for helping us keep things in order around here, Chris. We appreciate you. Carl, what was you going to say?
Oh, I forgot. I was listening to his encounter, and
I know, right?
kind of freaked me out. And I wasn't even there. Ooh,
Oh,
Lord.
it was horrifying. It was really horrifying.
I know
You
what
know,
you mean.
there's been other times. I'm a big fisherman, and there's a place in Indiana called the Green Sullivan County Forest, and it's a big fishing thing that coal miners gave back to the state way back in the 1930s, and now it's all overgrown. But there's like about 100 different strip pits in there that are lakes that you go down and fish these lakes. And my dad took me down there when I was a little kid, like 13, 14. Used to fish there all the time, and when I grew older, that was my place. Me and my buddies used to go down there. We used to go fishing all the time. And on all these strip pits, I mean, you feel like it's prehistoric. There's nobody else out there. You could be on 100-acre lake. You will never see anybody else. And it's surrounded by woods. And these are strip pits. So the drop-offs are huge. I mean, you go from, 1 foot to boom. You go to like, 10 feet within a few feet. And, we go out there, you launch a little John boat out there, and you be out there thinking you're the only person out there. How many times that I've had rocks thrown into the water, and I was like, that had to be a fish. No, it wasn't a fish. You know the difference between when a rock hits in the water and when a fish jumps in the water. So these are just little tidbits that lead into encounters that you may shrug off. You try to, like you, Carrie, oh, it's a big buck coming through the woods.
Every
You
time.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like these little things that you can't explain, and you try to explain them off, and you go, oh no, that wasn't that. And as they add up, you go like, this either I'm crazy or it's Bigfoot. I don't know if anybody's from Indiana, but down in Brown County, there's the Hoosier National Forest. There's Yellowwood State Forest. And if you look on like BFRO, or if you look on, that's the #1 sighting hotspot in Indiana down there. #1 in Hoosier, you can't hunt there. So when people drive through like Brown County National Forest and stuff like that, they have a little trek through there for the touristy tours. I mean, deer will come right out of the woods, and I mean, you can basically pet a deer. They are so used to people down there, and they know they're not going to get shot. Yellowwood is about 5 miles away from there, and it's not a national forest, but it's a state forest. And they also have like their big Bigfoot yearly meeting down there in Yellowwood. So make a long story short, about 4 years ago, I did a Airbnb down there, me and my wife at the time, and we rented a cabin from this outfit, and we got there. Now, we were probably a mile away from anybody in either direction. And it was really neat. It went down, and then it was like a 5-acre pond, and the people left a little John boat down there and some batteries up by the house and a trolling motor. So you go fishing on their little pond, so on and so forth. And we had it for a week. We had it for 5 days. That's what it was. And so about 2-3 days in, we were down there, and I hadn't started a fire out there in the fire pit yet. So my wife was inside the house making dinner. And I said, well, you know what? Why don't we go out, tonight after dinner and make some, sit by the fire. And so I started gathering up, they had some firewood set aside, but I started gathering up some kindling and getting it all broke up and stuff like that. And I brought it down. I started a fire. And as I got the fire going, I'm sitting out there enjoying myself. And I think I was drinking a beer or something. And it just got dark. Now, to add something to the story, every morning when I woke up, I mean, you could look down there by the pond, and there were these like little young deer, fawns, just running all around. And they had to like this between the pond, they had like a spillway where you could drive your car across if you wanted to and park there and then get on the boat and everything. But it was very secluded, very secluded. And I could see some deer down there just about every day. But that night I built a fire and I was sitting out there and by myself, and the tree line from me was about 40 yards away. And all of a sudden I heard the most horrendous scream that lasted about 4 or 5 seconds, like a woman getting murdered. It was horrible. It shocked me and scared me. I was like, oh my God, what is that? And I'm like,
Panthers scream like that.
oh, well, it's Indiana. We're not going to have, I mean, I know there's probably some mountain lions. No, this wasn't a panther. And I had, Carrie, I went and I YouTubed that every big cat scream and everything. This wasn't a panther. This was a person. This was a human. This was something hominid that sounded horrible. And plus, if it was a panther or a big cat, why would it, if it was hunting me, why would it alert itself to me being there? You know what I mean? If it really had interest in me, it would just shut up and come and get me. It definitely was not a big cat. And they have big cat, like, they have a big cat sanctuary here in Indiana where you can go down and like be like the chain link fence between you and tigers and lions. And I've heard them. I've been down there several times. I know the kind of I know what a big cat sounds like, to tell you the truth. And it shakes the ground.
At the end, you can tell it's a growl.
Oh, it's a growl.
Right there at the end. But when they first light up, it's just like
the
use bloodiest murder scream you ever heard.
They work themselves up. They go, it's just like that's my experience with it. And I even a mountain lion, there was no way. So
yeah, well, I wasn't saying it was. I'm just saying
I've
always heard.
I know. That's what my brother
People
said.
say it sounds like a woman.
That's what my brother said. That's what my brother. I said, Bob, it was not a cat. So I ran into the house. I was so scared because I was out there by myself. And I went into my wife and I was like, you can't believe it, just what I heard. And she was like, what? And I was like, I don't know. I heard something that was horrible. It sounded like a woman getting murdered in the woods. And then it stopped and I ran inside. She's like, oh, there's a, okay. So ate dinner. Let's go back out. An hour later, me and her sitting back out there in the fire. Okay. I think, and it happened again. It screamed again, and she heard it this time, and she was like, oh my God, that's horrifying. I'm like, I know, let's go inside the house right now. There's something out there. Now, I'm not putting two and two together between Bigfoot and stuff at this point in time. It was just, it was horrifying. I think what happened was we were in an Airbnb, in a situation where we rented this place. Probably doesn't get a whole lot of, between a mile between houses. I think I was in there and I really made it mad. We were there because it's hunting ground. All these fawns and deers and little small deers. I'm thinking back, I'm like, it probably was mad at me for being there because I'm screwing up its hunting. You know what I mean? And it wanted to scream at me. So we left the next day. We did leave the next day, but once you hear something like that, it was horrifying. It was really horrifying. I think, Carrie, I've already told you too, when I was hiking the Appalachian Trail about the time where the owls were all sattering off. And I've talked to you before about this. There was another time where I was all by myself. Usually people that are hiking the trail, we try and stay in groups. Some people may want to go solo here. But a guy I was hiking with decided he was going home, and I was about 400 miles into the trail. I was in Tennessee. I was heading toward Damascus, and I was probably about 50 some odd miles there. I had hurt my knee earlier in the day, and I had to climb this one mountain. And I was looking, if anybody that's hiked, they know that you have a little app on your phone called Gut Hooks, and it tells you where everything is. It tells you where, there's water sources from the mountains. It tells you where your next, roads are, and shelters, and so on and so forth. So I got to this point down there at Laurel Falls in Tennessee, and people who know Laurel Falls is pretty cool. It's along the Appalachian Trail. It's a nice little area. It's a gorge, and I had to climbing down the gorge. I hurt my knee, so I climbing out. I wanted to get to this next place where they had a what do they call it? Not a hospice, but a place where all the hikers can sleep, and you pay a little bit of fee to do it. So I hiked up this mountain. I had about 6 or some odd miles to go, and the only water source between that gorge and the time you get to the mountain was at the top of the mountain. Me and my dog got up there, and we pitched our tent. And I think I told you this. I started breaking up a bunch of deadfall because I was like, man, I just felt uneasy. I just felt uneasy up there. It was just like so silent, so nothing. It was just like, I'm going to build the biggest fire I can tonight, because I'm all by myself on top of this mountain. And whether it's a bear or anything else, I just, I feel better with a big fire going all night. So I broke up all this deadfall, cracking, banging these branches. And I think I told you, I think I called them in. And that being the only water source, which was about 100 yards away from me, which was on Gut Hooks as being the only water source around, that's where we camped. And I had about 6 miles to go the next day. So we're on top of this mountain, and I'm all by myself, and camp my tent and put it up, and got to be about 12 at night. Me and Turbo, my dog, are laying in the tent, and I started hearing light footfall. I mean, it was so silent that night. There was no wind or nothing. My dog started growling. He was kind of like laying ground, but he didn't know what was going on. I opened the tent. He didn't want to go out, and closed it back up. But I actually went out and checked my bear bag to make sure that, there was no bears or nothing around. And I got back in, and I continued. About half hour later, I started hearing again. And I actually shouted out. I said, "Hey, get out of here." I said, "I don't want no problem. Get out of here." And then about 10 seconds later, I heard the guttural growl. It was not a bear. I guarantee it was not a bear. And I was like, oh my goodness. And laying in your tent at 1 a.m, what are you going to do?
Start shooting holes in it.
Oh, I didn't have no gun.
That's on you.
I just prayed to God, and I said, you know what? There's nothing I can do. And I actually shouted out loud. I said, listen, I knew it was a Bigfoot. I said, I don't want no problem. I said, I'm here tonight. I'll be gone tomorrow. I said, please leave me alone. And that's what I said after that. And for some reason, I felt at ease after that. I laid down. I said, you know what? I'm going to close my eyes. God permitting, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be alive. And I sure was. So that was
yourself at ease.
Yeah, I would put myself at ease. Heck yes. Yeah. Heck yes. Yeah.
But,
so
what's the lesson here? What's the moral of the story? Don't go camping without a gun, dude.
Oh.
Don't go camping at all.
Yeah, well, that too. Don't go camping. And if you do go camping, bring an arsenal.
Yeah. Well, when you're through hiking, that's extra weight. But the buddy I was hiking with actually had a 9 on him. So I didn't have nothing. I was like, I didn't even have a pocket knife. So at that point, I was just like, all I could do was pray to Lord. That's all I could do.
You should do that anyway.
Absolutely.
American Express card, right here.
Absolutely.
It's on me all the time. I don't know if it's legal in this state, but
So-
Brad bought me that.
So other than my first Class A sighting and these other obvious actual encounters that being a guy that's been out fishing, hunting, and hiking his whole life, that's all I can say.
Oh,
What I
and
can put together.
I just want to say I'm not stupid enough to think this is going to stop a Sasquatch. Just he's going to bleed a little bit.
Yeah. A 9 would probably, a 9 would probably just make him mad. So
maybe I think if you get something big enough and shoot him in the head, they'll get it.
Well, if you get him in the head, absolutely. And even if you get him in the upper torso, I mean, it may not happen right away, but that's going to cause some damage later on down the line.
That's what I always said. It's at least going to hurt. It ain't going to feel good. But Carl, what's going on before? Because we're going to get out of here in just about 5 minutes. What's going on down there in Louisiana?
Well, the reason I got on was kind of to talk about the turtle shells. You remember what we found around here?
Yes, I do. In a pile.
So evidently they love turtles. Well, the other night, those pictures I sent you, the other night I was putting my dogs up. I had fell asleep and I woke up about 1:30 in the morning, and I went to put my dogs in, and I heard that big roar. And I just from experience, I know it's not a dog.
Right.
And I said that was pretty close. It was closer than normal. So I went down to the coulee the next day. And that's when we had that stretch of bad weather. And I was just looking around, and on that little sandbar in the middle of one of those coulees, I found what looks like a couple of prints. And I put my foot next to one of them, took a picture. Now my shoe is 11 and a half. And that one in that sandbar is pretty good because you can see where the sticks in the middle, where that break is on the foot. You can see it never touched the sticks. It never pushed them in the ground or anything. So that must be exactly where that break is on their foot. I don't know. I'm not saying what it is, what it isn't. I mean, I just found it interesting, that I heard that noise, that big, raw. It's either a wah or raw. I can't make it out, but I've heard it several times and got it recorded several times.
Dude, you know they're not going away.
No.
They're going to be, they were probably there long before y'all got there. And just kind of, because I know y'all were one of the first houses around that area, right?
Right, yeah.
And then it just kind of developed up around, but Chapel Swamp is a mile down the coulee there.
Yeah.
To me, that would be nothing to imagine one of those, or a whole bunch of them, maybe 5 or 6 easing down the coulee and hitting backyards, stealing animals or whatever.
And somebody over here has chickens, and they go off. I thought they were supposed to go off at dawn, but these things start going off at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
They will do that.
I had one sitting on my front bench in my yard, one crowing his butt off. And man, everyone, and it could be coyotes, but I mean, every once in a while, man, they get so stirred up around 12 or 1 o'clock at night. And that one I seen running that day, I told you what it was doing, and I don't say what it exactly it was doing anymore, because I've talked to about 10 people who have seen them running, and they were doing the exact same thing. I thought it might have been carrying something, but I don't think so. I think that's just the way they run.
Right. There's something weird about the way they move.
They're smooth.
You know what?
Smooth.
You know what I think it is? I think it's so they can drop down to 4s, and with, how just a smooth action.
Yeah. Could be.
So there's no wasted momentum,
I think they spend a whole lot more time on the ground
Yeah.
than we really realize. They actually crawl around, and they actually are on all fours. Sometimes we're looking up, and they're embedded down low. That's my angle on it. I mean, let's say have to move.
Somebody asked Mark Zasky the other night, what does he think they do in a hurricane? I think they do exactly what the horses and cows do. Go find an open area and turn their butt into the wind and just ride it out. Wind and rain is not going to kill you.
No, it's the other stuff that's flying around there.
Yeah.
The tornadoes is really what gets you in a hurricane.
Right.
Not so much the hurricane itself. Florida Boys Adventures carries a Kel-Tec PMR 30 22 Magnum. They're ground mags. That's what I carry these days, but the 45 in the safe. I carry a 10 millimeter and a 45, except for when we go into that place there at night. I don't carry anything because Mark's never carried anything. And he asked me to just leave the guns in the truck. And I was like, all right, I will. So it made me a little bit more apprehensive about going in. But that's neither here nor there. It's not how this thing's doing it again.
I think with a gun, sometimes you might be asking for trouble more than
maybe
you really know. These creatures, you have to understand this. They've been here before we have ever been here. And if they're watchers, like we know they are, they're curious. They have watched the Indians, our own, people that started this country, or I'm missing the word that I'm looking for, yeah, and they've had to watch over time. Okay, you have Indians. Now you've got people coming over from Europe, and you've got people coming from all over, and they're coming into the country. And don't you think they've witnessed things like the Civil War? Don't you think they've witnessed like the slaughtering of the Indians? Don't you think that from sight they understand what a gun can do to people? And even Indians, with the burial mounds and everything else like that, they had to be observing all this over all the time that all these people have been here, the burials of the Indians. Therefore, there's the thing why we can't find a body. Maybe they're burying their bodies of what they've learned over the years, over watching. Man, they seen Europeans coming over here with guns, and they're like, oh my goodness, a thunder stick is what Indians used to call them. They got a thunder stick, and they'll reach out and grab you. These things have been observing history. They've been observing history all this time. They know what a gun is. They know what a person is. They know what. No wonder they hide. I mean, all we do is come in and destroy things. You know what I mean?
I agree. Go ahead, Carl.
I think that's the number one reason why you can't catch them on a trail cam. Why? Because people put up trail cams, they watch deer, and they come back and they shoot and kill the deer.
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to sign up for that?
Exactly. If they are the ultimate hiders, observers, and curiosity, they have to know what the heck is going on. And this
one
is
I saw
going
knew.
On.
He definitely knew what I had was not good.
Absolutely. He knew you had a gun.
Look, man, I felt for a long time that my gun saved me.
Yeah.
Really
even if it was birdshot in there, he didn't have any idea what you had. And you could have had double-aught buckshot in that baby. You know what I mean?
What he doesn't know. Well, I had high breast number 4 turkey shot, which is not anything to sneeze at. I probably could have killed him. He was going to have to get a lot closer than he was.
How many
deer
you think that dude seen you kill?
Yeah, exactly. Observing you with your gun. He knew what you had.
He also saw me let a lot of deer walk, so he knew I was being selective. It wasn't just every deer I shot.
Right.
And I've been, as much as I've thought about it, I really think he thought I couldn't see him until I waved at him. And that's what caused the whole thing.
Also what I thought about Kerry was, you're hunting deer. I think a deer for a Bigfoot, for them to catch, to hoard them into a spot to where they might pinch them with a couple other people, to push them into a spot where they can ambush them. That's got to be difficult. A turkey, on the other hand, I mean, all a turkey can do is fly up in a tree. And if these things can climb trees like they do, and you would think a turkey is easy pickings for them. I mean, whether on the ground or up in a tree, you know, if they roost them up there, they can go up a tree, roost them right back out of that tree, and then they got their buddies waiting on the ground. You know what I mean? A turkey has got to be easy game for them. So for you to come out there and go hunting maybe their main game, their main food table, I bet you it made them mad a little bit. Yeah.
Well, not only that, I mean, as tall as they are, all they have to do is get a stick and just knock them out the damn tree.
Right. A turkey can only go so far.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
it's slow.
They can go up in a tree, but you can go right up in that tree, and then where are they going to go? They're going to go right back down the ground.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're not like a duck can get out of it quick.
Yeah. I mean, if I was out there all alone and without guns or weapons or anything, heck yeah, I'd be on a turkey real quick.
Yeah.
I think I could catch a turkey if I had to, you know, with a stick or a rock or something and roost it out. If I had to eat, I'd get it. But it's got to be a lot easier to get a turkey than it is a deer, for sure.
Yeah, and I think we as a people have lost a lot in the last couple of 100 years. You know, things that they still might hold on to, and they know, you know, just like I told Carrie one time, there was this around the block from my house, this huge field of thistle. One day I passed by, there's this huge, I'm talking about 5 and some 4 and 5 foot high, full of thistle. The next day, I'm like, there is not a piece of thistle in that field. And, you know, thistle is one of like a natural cure. So I think they know eating that, you know, what to eat, what kind of plants to eat, because most medicines are made out of plants. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. I lost my internet there for a second.
You're all good.
I don't think you're wrong about the whole turkey thing. That was the only time I really got to see them having experiences when there were turkeys around. It's got to be significant to a degree.
I think you messed with their main food table. I think that's what it was, because it's got to be a lot easier for them to catch a turkey than it is a deer.
Well, yeah, all you got to do is silhouette them. You know, for what we know and what we believe these creatures can do, you just silhouette. That's why I think there were no gobblers. Gobblers are big, man. They're much bigger than the hens. First, hens lay a lot of eggs, right? That's one food source.
Exactly.
And I never saw a gobbler. All I saw were young jakes. So maybe they take the gobblers off the roost.
And like you said, if they're as self-aware as we think they are, and they're as smart as they are, in which I have no doubt, I guarantee they're selective in their hunting as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they know how to preserve their food source and keep it going on.
I think they're smart enough not to hunt out an area.
Well, hey, look, think about if I'd only had 1 or 2 turkeys coming, probably wouldn't have done anything.
Mm-hmm.
The whole rafter is what you call turkeys, a rafter of turkeys. There was at least 30. It was a bunch of them, but no, I never saw a big gobbler. Doesn't mean he was there, but I've turkey hunted enough to know that if I'm trying to sound like 2 hens and a young turkey, a gobbler is going to hear that and come running to run the young turkey off and get have the 2 hens that are apparently ready.
Well, right? Especially if you bring in a bunch more hens, and then
no, that's what I'm saying, Sean. What I'm saying,
right.
Sean, is this. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Yep. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, I'm sitting here sounding like 2 hens. I got a box call. I got a sharp in my mouth, and I've got a locator. What they call a locator. You shake it, it sounds like a jake. A jake is a young turkey, a young male turkey. A tom is an older male turkey.
Right.
But when toms gobble, you can hear they finish it. They sound off and they finish it. Jakes, they just kind of just a little bit. And that's what that locator sounds like. So when the gobbler hears the young jake with the 2 hens, they come running. If there's a gobbler in there, especially in March around here, that's time.
Oh, you know,
gobblers are coming.
You know,
and you didn't see one, right? So that
the reason they all didn't come, they all came because there were no gobblers.
Exactly.
If you just sit and call, the rest of them will come. And I think they had been in there already, scratching up dead bugs and what had burned that place out.
So, Carrie, is pareidolia the same thing when you look in the clouds and you see dogs and fire trucks? And is that the
Yep.
same thing? Okay.
Well, yeah, pretty much. It
Okay.
is.
So why every time you look in the clouds, you don't see a Bigfoot face? But
It's funny. It's
you don't
funny
see
how
the
what
zebra,
Oh,
the elephant face. You see human caveman looking face. You don't see a dog face. You don't see
that's the thing about pareidolia, right? Is it's usually got no depth and it's not symmetrical,
Mhm.
or it's not behaving the way something hiding would behave.
Right.
That's why this picture right here, I think, to me, as far as research goes, is invaluable. And it's this one.
Yeah.
This is the guy. That's the guy right there. But look,
mhm.
if you can see his face, you can see his shoulder, his bicep muscle. But look just to the right of his bicep, at the tip of that white palm frond in the bottom left corner, the very tip of it, just to the right of his bicep
There's another
looks like,
face.
well, no, it looks like 4 knuckles, where
Yeah.
he is holding, he's got his arm up under his right pec, his arms in front of him, like
Oh, I see it,
like
Carrie. Yes.
like he's shouldering into that
Wrapped
bush.
around it.
And
Yep.
that's what you would do if you're going to protect the tender bits against
Yep.
palmettos. You put your arm there and kind of, hide down in there. So to me, this has
Yeah,
depth.
there's that
It's got
space.
symmetry.
There's that space between that stick right there, and you can see where his hands wrapped around it. Yes.
No, I don't see that. I just see, you see his shoulder and you see his bicep. You see the sun shining off of the muscle on his bicep. Just to the right of that, you see knuckles. You
Looks
see
like
the knuckles.
You think he was kind of peeling back those palmettos, kind of looking
I think he had his left arm up under across his top of his stomach, and his hand up under his right pec or over his right pec, and was putting his shoulder into that bush to watch. Because those palmettos are about 5 feet tall, and he's hunched down. So he's at least a 7-footer, but he's slim.
Well, and you see the structure on that face. And that video that Bigfoot Tony did for us, where that head pops over the fence, you can see structure in the face. I mean, it's night and day. I mean, it's when you just looking at a blob squatch and people are circling red things, and
Right.
But when you can see a brow ridge and eyes and a big nose like this with big huge nostrils, why don't you see that in the clouds? I mean.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Exactly.
It's paranoia. If people can't look at this footage and this, these photos and understand that what you're looking at is real, I don't know where they're coming from. I really don't. I mean,
most of the people who
they're in denial.
Most of the people who rebut this stuff have never seen one.
Right.
So they really don't know what they look like. They think they know. They think they know everything, but
Sure,
they really don't know anything.
Well, none of us do, really. I mean, I know they're out there, and I know that that's what that is. When
That's
I show
all I
that
know.
picture, I know that's what that is. But yeah, and I say it all the time to people that just say, well, I would have, or we would have this by now, or shouldn't we have a better, I'm like, yeah, well, you're assuming an awful lot about a creature you don't believe exists.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're assuming that if they exist, this is how they should be. Well, look at it the other way. Look at it through the lens that they exist, and then ask your question. Don't fall back on whether they're just not out there.
You're going into their home, their living room. They know all the tricks and the trades. It's like turning off your lights in your house. You pretty much know where everything is. When somebody walks in the dark, they don't know the layout of your house. Believe me, they have a plan. They work like military precision. Because like what they did in my backyard to sneak back here and steal that dog food. I mean, like I always say, you're not talking about a dumb animal. You're talking about something that can think and plan things out. I mean, it's.
Yeah, look what you had to go through just to catch them peeking over the fence. and that's
Yeah.
about as much as you could get aside from the tracks, right? The tracks is what kind of gave them away.
The big footprint on the concrete. That's how it all got started.
Yeah. Well, hey, look,
my
you
one
guys-
question, my one question is, before we end this, my one question is, it seems like once you know,
Yeah.
they know you know. Somehow they can look into your soul in some way or some fashion. And
what's
they,
that?
I don't know. It just seems to me like it seems too
Wait.
once you accept the fact that they are real and that they are out there and that you respect them and that they're in, to me at least, it seems either that or my senses are heightened to where I know what to look for, I know what to listen for, I know what to,
There are people like that.
Right.
There are people like that. There are mentalists that are so good at looking at you and looking at 200 different data points to know what you're thinking, and that's how they guess all these things like that you're thinking, is because they're so good. Look at people call Chris Angel, David Blaine, David Copperfield that do amazing things right in front of your face.
Right.
They call them magic, that they're in with the dark league. No, it's just an illusion. And what if Sasquatch sees the world this way and knows these things and watches us? They know everything about us, our notions, our tendencies. They know how to stay away from us. Set aside the fact that they're probably 10 times stronger, 10 times faster, built-in camouflage, and predisposed to hiding. How do you? Of course, we don't have a good image of one of these things. They don't want to have their picture taken. They're just staying away.
No. Yep. And when you see one, your whole demeanor changes. Even though you think you're going to stick to like you told me, you said, don't change anything. Well, how in the hell can you not change anything where there's something 7-8 foot coming in your backyard stealing dog food? I mean, I tried, but believe me, I'm scared. I think y'all all crazy as hell for going to look for these things. I mean,
the one thing I did before I leave, I walked that area where Dennis Martin was abducted. When I was hiking the Appalachian Trail, I got off. My wife picked me up in Fontana Dam, and I had to re-hike that. And I spent a week in Gatlinburg just visiting her because I've been on the trail for a couple of weeks, and I had a hike back to the trail. So I looked at some options and this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, well, if I take this trail right here from Cades Cove and I hike to Russell Field Shelter, and then the next shelter down is where Dennis Martin whole area is where Dennis Martin disappeared. First of all, it was just me and my dog, and Turbo was pretty aware. The whole time I was out there, it was so hiking that stretch of about 6 or 7 miles from Cades Cove to the trail. He did not want to go. He would stop. I basically had to leash him and drag him. He would not follow me. On either side of the trail, it was so deep you could not see. I guarantee you couldn't see a foot. It was so thick on either side of the trail between what was in there. It was so grown over, and it was unnerved, and this dog was unnerved. He was growling. His tail was between his legs. His hair was standing up. I kept calling him, and he will follow me anywhere. And this dog was like, I could just tell his demeanor was like, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go any further. And I was like, I hooked him up, and I was like, come on. And I felt so unnerved. To that aspect, I saw all kinds of it's actually a horse trail. If you want to go from Cades Cove, there's only a few parts where you can actually take a horse. So to Russell, and then you can go down to the next shelter where Dennis disappeared from, and then it's a big horse loop that you could do. But I saw bear dung. I saw, whether it was a bear, whether there was no horses out at this time, but I did see horse dung. But I also saw other feces that I couldn't identify. But the whole thing was just so creepy. It put me on edge. My hair was standing up. His hair. It was just very creepy. I thought
man,
I'd see
I
it
hate
there.
to have to cut you off, Sean.
Go
I
ahead,
was
Terry.
trying to end this 10
I'm
minutes
done.
ago.
I'm done. That's all I got to say.
All right.
I'm good, buddy.
We got to get you guys back on though. So if you feel like coming back on Wednesday, I don't know if Danielle is going to be here, but I'm going to do, I'll do a show. That'll be the last show I'll be able to do before Linda and I leave Thursday. Well, Brad is going to be here Friday night with Robert Crider. So there's that. And you guys that don't know or weren't here for it, Daniela's dad is not well. He had a stroke a while back. She's been taking care of him for quite a few months now.
They're perfect.
And it's been rough on her. And she's the last message I got was that he was hour to hour, and she wasn't gonna make the show today. So that's why I kind of did this impromptu for her. And I want to thank the Gilbert Berger, Katie Gallerini for sending in the donations for Daniela to PayPal. I'll make sure she gets that. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks,
you guys
Sean.
for showing
Thank
up.
you. Thanks, Kerry.
I did want to get to this. Papa Craig says, I wonder about that every day with them showing up more often after they're around. We hear it all the time. It's almost like game on now. They're throwing rocks and slapping the house and doing stuff like that. But hey, I got to run. Thanks again, guys. Thanks everybody for showing up here. We'll hope to see you guys Wednesday. Y'all take care.